The Ford Performance Tremec TKO 600 Extra HD 5-speed transmission is a great choice for any 79 and 95 Mustang owner looking to stray away from the limited capabilities of the stock T5 trans and who wants an upgrade that'll handle up to 600 foot-pounds of torque. Now, this trans has a number of benefits and upgraded parts, but it'll require a few other upgrades to make it work, which I'll talk about in this video. Just know for the installation, this is a transmission after all, and it definitely gets 3 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. You'll definitely need professional experience on this one. Now, as I'm sure you guys already know, the T5 transmission that was introduced to the Foxbody scene is infamously known to have a very easy breaking point. It doesn't handle a ton of power over what the stock 5-liter pushrods put out. Now, don't get me wrong, the T5 is a good transmission for what it is. It's lightweight, about 80 pounds, and very compact, and it handles the stock setup well enough. It's really at its limits from the factory already, so there have been times guys just put a sticky tire to the ground a little too hard and end up breaking the trans. That sounds like you, or if you're putting down too much power for it to handle, or if you just got unlucky and it went out on its own, it's time to look at an upgrade. Now, if you plan on making any kind of power with your 5.0, you're putting your stock T5 at risk. Some guys tend to look at it this way. You might want to run the T5 into the ground, making the power that you want to make, and just wait for it to blow and you'll get the upgrade. Contradicting everything I just said, there are a few people out there that claim to make 400 to 500 horsepower on the stock trans, which is great, but it's just a matter of time at that point. Once that thing does go, there are a few different routes you can go. One of those routes is to pick up a transmission rebuild kit and take it to a shop that'll rebuild it for you and then throw it back on and hope it doesn't happen again. The issue with that is even with the right upgraded internals, you're not going to be able to handle as much power as you would with a full transmission upgrade. Obviously, there is a price difference, but if you're looking to do things right and do them right the first time, the Tremec TKO 600 trans we have here is a great option from Ford Performance. Now, the TKO 600 is the successor to the TKO 500, which was introduced by Ford Performance in 2004 to replace the TR3550. Now, the 600 is just a beefed up, more durable, and more capable transmission, but the close ratios and other specs do stay very similar between each other. The 600 is a 5-speed overdrive transmission that's rated to handle up to 600 foot-pounds of torque, which makes it a great choice for high-performance applications. Now, the previous 500 version is perfect for anyone staying under 500 foot-pounds of torque, and the gear ratios are shorter, making them a better fit for differential gears no lower than 355s. Now, the 600 we have here has a smaller first gear at 287, which lets you hang onto your power band a lot longer during those very hard launches, and very close ratios up to 4th gear at an even 1.0. Now, overdrive 5th gear sits at 0.68, which is one of the options the 600 comes with. The other option is the 0.82, which one you go with is depending on your rear gears, torque rating, and what kind of driving you plan on doing with your Mustang. There's a few different variables that come into play with picking the overdrive gear that works best for your setup and your drive style. So what does any of this mean? Well, the close gear ratios from 1st to 4th make the transmission better suited for racing and higher performance applications, and the internals are built from a higher quality, more accepting components that handle higher torque outputs. Now, all gears and shafts are made from 4615 steel. It's also got improved cast iron shift forks and a one-piece counter shaft, all to increase that torque capacity. I want to point out that this is not necessarily a direct bolt-on swap. There are a few other things you need to change in order to get this to match. This features a 26 spline input shaft, and the stock clutch is a 10 spline, so you'll need to pick up the 26 spline clutch. If you're the owner of a Foxbody, you'll need to grab an adapter bell housing like the one Ford Racing offers, a 31 spline drive shaft yoke, and maybe some other cross-member modifications will be involved. Now, SN95 owners from 94 to 95 will do the same, except you'll also need a new clutch fork. Now, some of the guys have managed to slip the stock cross-member unchanged around the new trans, and it's worked. Others have found they needed to elongate the holes, or there are spacer kits from brands like Steeda that will help with that. That part is totally up to you or your shop. Upgrading to the Tremec TKO 600 definitely has its pros: closer gear ratios, higher quality internals for better handle on torque ratings, better performance, but like most things in life, there are some downsides. Now, the TKO 600 is noticeably heavier than the stock T5, which I think is to be expected, and it's also been known to not shift as smoothly, but instead maybe a bit notchier as well as a bit louder, especially at higher RPMs. The quick fix for this is, frankly, I'm sure you'd be doing this anyway, is to pick up an aftermarket shifter, which will do wonders to make your shifting experience better. Personally, I think the pros outweigh the minor inconvenience of noise and clunkiness any day. I mean, after all, the older Foxbodies and SN95s already came with the clunky shifting and notchy shifting experiences with the T5. You really get to feel each gear you're grabbing, and with this, you can do exactly that without blowing your trans at higher horsepower numbers. Now, the last thing I want to note here is the cost. Now, the transmission itself you can grab on the site for just about $2,500, which is definitely a worthwhile investment if you're needing a trustworthy and durable transmission. Now, you want to factor in those other parts I mentioned earlier that you'll need to take into account to make it work right. Now, converting the clutch is going to be about $250 for a single disc clutch kit, obviously more if you opt to go with a twin disc. Now, the bell housing is another $250, 31 spline yoke, just under $100, and the clutch fork is about $50, which isn't really a big deal. Add that all up, and you're looking at just over the $3,000 mark just for the parts. Installation definitely requires mechanical expertise, so if you're not comfortable doing any of this yourself, you want to make sure you're taking it to a professional to get done properly, which may tack onto the final cost. Overall, it definitely takes about 3 hours or so from start to finish if you've got the experience, and it for sure gets the full 3 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Just to wrap this one up here, if you're the owner of a 79 to 95 5-liter pushrod Mustang, you might want to check out the Ford Performance Tremec TKO 600 Extra HD 5-speed transmission, which you can find right here at AmericanMuscle.com.